শুরু করি। এই হ্যালো হ্যালো, ছিল। হ্যালো, অনুমতি দিলে শুরু করতে পারি। দুদিন পরে বাংলা নববর্ষ, তার আগাম শুভেচ্ছা আপনাদের সবাইকে, আপনাদের মাধ্যমে সবাইকে, বাকিদেরকে। কমরেড সীতারাম ইয়েচুরি আছেন আজকে। গতকাল এবং আজকে দুদিন ব্যাপী আমাদের পার্টির রাজ্য কমিটির বৈঠক সদ্য সমাপ্ত হলো। দুদিনই উনি ছিলেন, আলোচনা শুনেছেন, তিনি তার বক্তব্য রেখেছেন। আমরা সিদ্ধান্ত গ্রহণ করেছি, মূলত এজেন্ডার মধ্যে ছিল এই সময়ে যে আন্দোলন সংগ্রাম গড়ে উঠছে সাম্প্রদায়িকতার বিরুদ্ধে এবং দুর্নীতির বিরুদ্ধে, রাজ্যে দুর্নীতি বিরোধী এবং সাম্প্রদায়িকতা মুক্ত বাংলা একমাত্র বামেরা দিতে পারে। সিপিআইএম তার অভিজ্ঞতা আছে। আমাদের স্বাধীনতার আগে পরে অসংখ্য সমস্যা রাজ্যের আছে। সেই সমস্যা শুরু থেকেই পার্টি জন্মলগ্ন থেকেই কমিউনিস্ট পার্টি তার সমাধানের সঙ্গে ওতপ্রোতভাবে যুক্ত। সে খাদ্য সংকট হোক, সে সেচের ব্যবস্থা হোক, পানি জলের সমস্যা হোক, সে মানুষের জীবন জীবিকার সমস্যা হোক, মানুষের সম্প্রীতি ঐক্যের সমস্যা হোক, দাঙ্গা বিরোধী মনোভাব গড়ে তোলা হোক, আর আমাদের নবজাগরণের যুক্তিবাদী সমাজের যে ধারা তাকে বরণ করা এবং স্বাধীনতা আন্দোলনের যে ধারা। আমরা পঞ্চায়েত ব্যবস্থা গড়ে তুলেছিলাম মানুষের অংশগ্রহণের মধ্য দিয়ে। সুনিশ্চিত করা হয়েছিল মহিলাদের জন্য সংরক্ষণ করা হয়েছিল, পরে বিধানসভা এবং লোকসভায় করার কথা ছিল। কিন্তু যখন থেকে বামপন্থী দুর্বল হয়েছে, তৃণমূল এবং বিজেপির উত্থানের পরে গোটা দেশ থেকেই মহিলা সংরক্ষণের বিষয়টা হারিয়ে গেছে। আমরা 18 বছরের প্রথম ভোটাধিকার চালু করেছিলাম নতুন প্রজন্মকে অধিকার দেওয়ার জন্য। আজকে যাদের হাতে অস্ত্রশস্ত্র তুলে দেওয়া হচ্ছে, তলোয়ার, ত্রিশূল, বোমা, বন্দুক, পিস্তল এবং মদের বোতল, যাতে গণতন্ত্রকে শেষ করা যায়। আমরা ডেমোক্রেটিক প্রসেসে তাদেরকে পার্টিসিপেট করেছিলাম। ডিসেন্ট্রালাইজেশন হয়েছিল, রাজ্যের হাতে অধিক ক্ষমতা এসেছিলাম কেন্দ্রের হাত থেকে, আর সেখান থেকে জেলাগুলোকে, জেলা প্রশাসন থেকে ব্লকে, ব্লক থেকে গ্রাম পঞ্চায়েতে, সেখান থেকে সাধারণ মানুষের গ্রাম সভার মধ্য দিয়ে আজকে দেশের লোকসভা তুলে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করা হচ্ছে, গ্রাম সভাও তুলে দেওয়া হয়েছে। এটাই হচ্ছে যে ফাঁসিবাদের উত্থান হচ্ছে, যে দক্ষিণপন্থার উত্থান হয়েছে। সেখানে একদিকে মানুষের অধিকার কেন হচ্ছে, অন্যদিকে মানুষের কথা বলার অধিকার, হক চাইবার অধিকার। কর্মচারীদের, শ্রমিকদের, কৃষকদের আন্দোলনকে দমন করা হচ্ছে দেশের অন্যান্য প্রান্তে এবং আমাদের রাজ্যেও। কৃষকের ফসলের দাম হোক, আর কর্মচারীদের ডিএ হোক, আর শিক্ষকদের ডিএ হোক, বা তাদের অধিকার চাওয়ার যে অধিকার সেটাকে খর্ব করা হচ্ছে। বেকার ছেলেমেয়েদের কোনো ভবিষ্যৎ নেই। এদেশের 1/3 যুব, তারা যুব অংশ শিক্ষা প্রতিষ্ঠানেও নেই, প্রশিক্ষণেও নেই, রোজগারেও নেই, এবং ভবিষ্যতে এমন কিছু দেখা যাচ্ছে না কেন্দ্র এবং রাজ্য সরকার তাদেরকে গেইনফুল এমপ্লয়মেন্ট দিতে পারে এরকম কোনো ব্যবস্থা করছে। আমরা পঞ্চায়েত নির্বাচনের প্রস্তুতি নিয়ে আলোচনা করেছি। কিছু যা এখনো বাকি আছে সেগুলো আগামী 1 সপ্তাহের মধ্যে তৈরি হয়ে যাবে। আমরা নির্বাচনের জন্য সিপিআইএম শুধু নয়, বামফ্রন্টের বাইরের বাম দল, তার সঙ্গে অন্যান্য সমস্ত শক্তি, ব্যক্তি, গোষ্ঠী যারা বিজেপি এবং তৃণমূল বিরোধী, তাদেরকে এক কাট্টা করছি। একই সঙ্গে বিজেপি এবং তৃণমূলকে হারানো যায় সেটা সাগরদিঘি দেখিয়েছে। তারপর থেকে নতুন করে আবার বিভাজনের রাজনীতি নিয়ে আসার চেষ্টা করা হচ্ছে। এখন শুধু দুটো দল বিজেপি এবং তৃণমূল না, তৃতীয় দল হিসেবে বাংলার মিডিয়া যুক্ত হয়েছে। প্রতিদিন মিডিয়া, বিজেপি এবং তৃণমূল, তারা এক সুরে রোজ দামা বাজিয়ে চলেছে হিন্দু মুসলমান, দাঙ্গা হাঙ্গামা। যতটা দাঙ্গা হাঙ্গামা হয়নি তার চেয়ে বেশি মমতা ব্যানার্জি ঘোষণা করেছেন, আর তারপরে মিডিয়া সেই বাইনারিটিকে নিয়ে যাওয়ার চেষ্টা করেছে। আমাদের রাজ্যে বিজেপি বাঁচবার জন্য আর কোনো রাস্তা নেই দাঙ্গা হাঙ্গামা ছাড়া, এবং বিজেপি অপদার্থ সেটাও করতে পারবে না বলে আরএসএস সরাসরি মাঠে নেমে পড়েছেন। আর তৃণমূল কংগ্রেস, তার মমতা ব্যানার্জি নিজে, তার পরিবার, তার ভাইপো বউদেরকে ইডি সিবিআই থেকে বাঁচানোর জন্য মোটামুটি রাজ্যের ঐক্য এবং সম্প্রীতিকেও বাজি ধরেছেন। আমরা ঠিক করেছি দুর্নীতি দুষ্কৃতি মুক্ত বাংলা, সম্প্রীতির বাংলা, রিসার্জেন্ট বেঙ্গল গড়ে তোলার চেষ্টা। এবং রিসার্জেন্ট বেঙ্গল is possible only through rejuvenated left. Left is in the path of rejuvenation. That's what we have decided in the state committee. Now over to comrade Sitaram Yechury.
Well, you just heard Comrade Salim. Hello to all of you. Have not been here for a long time, I think, meeting the Calcutta Press. So,
No, during the CC meeting, you met January CC meeting, but not the state committee for 1 year.
again, ঠিক আছে? Huh?
It's audible.
You heard Comrade Salim.
Want rooms in front of you. Hey, এনে গেল না কিছু নেই।
Okay. Well, you heard Comrade Salim, and you heard also what we decided in the state committee meeting. Well, I just want to share one or two important points with you. After that, you're welcome to ask your questions. See, first of all, as 2024 approaches, the sharpening communal polarization has become the mainstay for the BJP for its electoral and political mobilization. Again, this year, Ram Navami was used as the platform for mounting vicious communal attacks against the minorities, particularly the Muslims. And this is, in fact, strange because those who talk of India's past history, they should realize that in the last 100 years, there is a database that has emerged in saying when the communal rights and what triggered the communal rights took place. Ram Navami does not figure at all in any of these things. This is an engineered thing by the BJP now to use it as a launch pad for their communal polarization and attack on the minorities. Now, this is going to escalate as the run-up to the 2024 elections. And in the name of cow vigilantism, cow protection, love jihad, whatever you may have, this has become their singular point mobilization for their electoral and political advances. This is very dangerous, as all of us, most of us realize, very dangerous for the country's unity, integrity, and this is not in the interests of India. They are doing this, which is not in our country's interest and people's interest. So the CPIM is opposed to this sort of communal polarization sharpening and is appealing to all Indian patriots to come together to ensure that the control over government machinery and state power does not permit the BJP to escalate this communal polarization in the coming days, which means we'll all have to unite to make sure they don't control the reins of government and state power in the country. And that is very important for India's future. Secondly, in this background, our finance minister has gone to the USA and made a very peculiar statement saying that the ground realities in India are different. When answering a question on the attack on the Muslim minorities, she said the ground realities are different from what is being projected here. If the Muslims are under attack or under siege, why is their population growing? Now, this is a very peculiar argument, which India had rejected since the days of the most inhuman man-made Bengal famine. When the Bengal famine occurred, when Churchill, as the Prime Minister, was asked in London that their claims that this is a man-made famine, it is the British policy that is creating these shortages, food shortages, that's creating this famine. Then his classic answer was, his most obnoxious answer, he answered by saying, if the Indians are starving, then how are they breeding like rabbits? This was the most obnoxious statement of Churchill at that point of time. And now our finance minister repeats the same sentiment. And what is this growth of this population anyway? That can be debated. Even that has been shown that their growth rate is not higher than the national average growth rate, that of the Muslims. But anyway, this argument that because the population is growing, nothing is wrong, nothing being done to them, is very specious and is completely unacceptable. And it reveals a certain mindset, which is most unfortunate. And it actually goes back to the colonial mindset of how they treated the Indian people. Now, this, apart from this communal polarization, the situation of economic burdens being imposed on the people is getting more and more intensified. The Modi government has stopped the release of the 2017-18 large survey by the National Sample Survey of Organization, which is the basis on which poverty is estimated in the country. The number of people whose expenditure is less than what is required to be above poverty are calculated as people living in poverty. That is a normal practice in India also. Clearly, that was showing a very negative result for the Modi government. So this has been suspended for over a year. This has not been allowed to be released. Now a private survey by eminent economists has come out, whatever that survey results may be. The fact that emerges is, for the last 8 years under this Modi government, the real wages in India have remained stagnant, if not declining. With inflation soaring, if the real wages are stagnant, that means people's consumption is declining, which means poverty levels are increasing. Now, this is the sort of statistical manipulation that is being done to try and conceal the truth. And this is exactly what is also emerged from another study, which has been released today. In fact, that shows you that during the last 80 years, the real earnings of the poor in India declined by minus 53%, while that of the rich and the upper middle class went up by plus 39%. So under Modi rule, the process of creating two Indias, a shining India and a suffering India. This shining India, suffering India, this narrative is becoming the reality in our country. Enrich the rich, impoverize the poor. Minus 53% decline in their earnings or in the real incomes that they've got during the last 8 years is an amazing degree of impoverishing the people. Now this, along with the highest levels of your unemployment, your inflation, runaway inflation led by food inflation and fuel inflation, which means the poor are the target. And this is actually creating a situation of greater and greater misery for the people. And this creation of two Indias is something that has to be stopped and reversed. That is why the CPIM has, along with all the organizations of the working people, have decided to intensify the popular struggles against this. The CPIM had supported the Mammoth rally that was held in Delhi on 5th of April on the parliament by the working class, the peasantry and the agricultural workers. And various calls have been given by various sections of the working people. These struggles will intensify in the days to come. And it is on the basis of these struggles that, like we got the Modi government and the Prime Minister himself to announce the repeal of the agri laws, many of these anti-working people measures that this government has been taken, these movements will force them to backtrack in the face of the 2024 elections. Modi promised a minimum support price for all farmers for all crops. More than a year, that has not happened. The new labor codes that have come have taken away the rights of the working class and the working people, even their elementary democratic rights which were earned by the working class in India even before India became independent. Even those have been taken away. So on all these issues, these popular struggles will be intensified. Then the other issue on which popular pressure will have to be mounted is the manner in which all the independent institutions created by the Indian Constitution are under threat. Today, the data has come out to show that the 17th Lok Sabha is going down in history as the shortest Lok Sabha since 1952 or since the parliament was established. You never had a Lok Sabha functioning for such a small time as this Lok Sabha currently. The 17th Lok Sabha is functioning. So parliament being decimated. Pressures on the judiciary in order to have executive control over appointments. The misuse of ED, CBI, governors. Pressures on the election commission. The entire system is being completely, as we know of it, the democratic system and the constitutional order is being destroyed. So this has to stop. And along with this, you have draconian laws that are being brought in. Now, if you tweet, I don't know, depending on which corporate media you're associated with. I mean, if you're associated with what is seen as a sympathetic media for the government, you will be in trouble. But people like us, if we now tweet, you have an information bureau called the Press Information Bureau. That has become the authority to decide what is fake and what is not fake. A bureau becoming an authority to decide the veracity of any tweet. And on that basis, action will be taken. That's the most draconian, authoritarian regime. Those who are talking about press censorship, we've seen press censorship. We fought press censorship. We defeated Indira Gandhi. But this sort of censorship, where an ordinary bureau is given the authority to decide. Like the ED is given the authority to decide whom to detain. These sort of things I've never heard of in a democracy, and that is happening here. So this has to be strongly opposed, which it will be. And then you have all these changes in the syllabus that has been brought in. I don't know whom Shivaji fought in history, because they are no longer, Mughals are not there in the history textbooks. So whether the Battle of Haldigati took place or not, we don't know, because that doesn't exist. And somebody put out a tweet which said, instead of Mughal-e-Azam, the film is now remade into saying E-Azam, because Mughal has been removed. And so Mughal has been taken out. It's a ridiculous situation. I don't know what they are wanting to teach. But more importantly, they say that Mahatma Gandhi's assassination, that Godse assassinated Mahatma Gandhi, that is removed. That RSS was banned after that assassination by Sardar Patel, that is removed. So after 20 years, our children, and more importantly, our grandchildren, won't even know there's somebody like Gandhi in this country. Somebody killed him. Some organization was banned for that. Nothing of that will be there. Such crass rewriting of history that is happening. We have not even seen in the medieval times in world history. But that is being undertaken here. So for all these issues and all discounts, and on top of all that is this loot of India that is taking place through this corporate communal nexus. That is the term that the CPIM has used, this corporate communal nexus. And now yesterday, it has now again come out that the LIC bought fresh new shares of Adani companies during the last quarter, January, March, after the stocks, Adani's stock prices were falling. People's money. It can only happen if the government pressurizing LIC to do it. This needs to be inquired. But it's precisely that inquiry that Modi and the government are stopping. So we say that the JPC must be constituted into this, into the entire Adani affair. And if it's claimed that there's nothing wrong in this whole affair, then what is the problem with the JPC? And even if they're afraid that something may come out of the JPC, the chairman will be the BJPs, the majority will be the BJPs, because it goes by the representation in the parliament. JPC is constituted in that manner. So what are they fearing? Obviously, something is very, very, very wrong in this whole thing. Even the slightest exposure of that would cost both the credibility and future of this Modi government. So that's why I'm not drawing it. So we reiterate that JPC must be there. So we are today saying immediately withdraw the PIB authority, that IT rules amendments notification, giving the authority to the PIB to decide what is fake, what is not. The Adani issue constitute a JPC. The syllabus changes that have been brought in, that will have to be discussed probably with the states, because education is a concurrent subject. Until you have all the states on board, until the federal principle is exercised, this must be kept on hold. And as far as the people are concerned, many popular schemes will be announced before the 2024 election. But the fact is that if 80 crores of Indians can survive only on the free 5 kilos of food grain that is given to them, that speaks volumes for the levels of hunger in India. 80 crores. And the Prime Minister himself says that they are surviving because of this free food. That means we are in a very, very terrible state of hunger in this country. So on all these counts, the CPIM has decided, which was earlier decision as well, that we'll continue to talk with all the secular democratic opposition parties. And the effort would be that in the coming 2024 elections, in every state, depending on the concrete situation, to maximize the pooling of the votes so that the BJP and the communal forces do not get advantage of division in the opposition vote. To minimize that division and maximize the pooling of this vote. That we will pursue, but that will be state specific as always in Indian, given Indian reality. And then it will take a, all India form. most often, the past experience tells us that the All India formation of the front that gave the government was always post-election. In 1996, United Front was formed after the election. 2004, the UPA was formed after the election. So that is what will also happen. Right now, the focus will be on the state level. And at the state level, to minimize the division, maximize the pooling of the vote against BJP. So that in a nutshell is some of the issues I wanted to cover with you. Now, if you have any questions, please.
यहाँ पे बीजेपी की ओर से लगातार कई हफ्तों से ये बोला जा रहा है कि हम लोग वामपंथियों के साथ हैं और वामपंथी हम लोग जहाँ पे पंचायत इलेक्शन में कैंडिडेट पाएंगे वहाँ वामपंथियों को सपोर्ट करेंगे। ये क्या हम लोग का स्ट्रेटजी है और हम लोग का ये महाजोड़ जो विरोधी का महाजोड़ है उसका सिचुएशन में वामपंथियों का रोल क्या होगा?
देखिए, हमारी रुझान तो स्पष्ट है कि हम बीजेपी के विरोध में है, उसको हराना है देश के हित में, लोगों के हित में। अब वो क्या बोले वो जाने। हमें कोई ऐसा, वो लोगों को गुमराह करने के लिए बोल रहे हैं, उनको मिसलीड करने के लिए बोल रहे हैं, वो जो भी बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन कोई सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता हमारे तरफ से कोई बीजेपी के साथ जाने का, वो मतलब ही नहीं है। आज जो बीजेपी कर रही है अपने देश के साथ, अपने आवाम के साथ, मुल्क और आवाम के साथ जो रुझान है बीजेपी का, उसका सख्त विरोध जो है मार्क्सवादी कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी करता रहेगा, देश के हित में, लोगों के हित। ये तो बेकार की उनकी अफवाह है। अगर वो बोलना चाह रहे हैं लोगों को गुमराह करने के लिए, मतलब उनकी डेस्परेशन ऐसी है आज कि वो किसी न किसी मतलब चाल पर उतरने के लिए वो तो तैयार रहेंगे ही। उनका उसूल एक ही है कि चुनाव जीतो, सरकार बनाओ। अब कर्नाटक में टिकट बांट रहे हैं वो, और टिकट बांटने में उनको एकदम दिक्कत आ गई, क्योंकि कई सारे लोग थे जो कांग्रेस से और जनता दल सेकुलर से उन्होंने बीजेपी की तरफ उठा के ले गए, तभी तो सरकार बनाया उधर। तो इस तरीके के काम करने वाले कुछ भी कर सकते हैं। आज ये भी नारा चल रहा है देश में कि चुनाव जो भी जीतेगा लेकिन सरकार बीजेपी बनाएगी। अब ये है डेमोक्रेसी की हालत उनके नेतृत्व में। अच्छी बात है भाई, हम चाहते हैं कि ये जितने जो धर्मनिरपेक्ष ताकतें हैं, जितने देश के हित में, जनता के हित में, सब इकट्ठा हो। देखिए, जेडीयू, कांग्रेस और आरजेडी ऑलरेडी वो महागठबंधन के हिस्सेदार हैं, और बिहार के अंदर वो महागठबंधन अभी भी बरकरार है, जिसके अंदर वामपंथी भी शामिल है वो। और जब जेडीयू उस महागठबंधन में शामिल हुआ, उससे पहले था वो आरजेडी, कांग्रेस और लेफ्ट, उसके अंदर जेडीयू शामिल हुआ, ये मजबूत हुई। अभी अच्छी बात है, वो मिल रहे तो। अरे ये भाई, ये राजनीति है, गणित नहीं है। यानी दुकान में कुछ खरीद रहे हो तो आधा किलो और ऐड कर दो, मतलब वो थोड़ी होता है। ये कि किसके अंदर क्या ऐड कर रहे। तृणमूल कांग्रेस की रुझान है क्या, कहाँ पे है उसकी? अभी तक हमारा जो अनुभव रहा है, वो एनडीए के हिस्सेदार थी कि नहीं, मंत्री थी कि नहीं केंद्र में, फिर मौका मिला तो जाएगी कि नहीं? तो अब ये उनके साथ कैसे मिला है, किसके लिए? सवाल तो यही है कि प्रासंगिकता क्या है और उनका पुराना ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड क्या है। अब रामनवमी के आधार पर सांप्रदायिक ध्रुवीकरण तेज कर रहा है बीजेपी आरएसएस, तो उसके मुकाबले में आप भी उतरो मैदान में, तो क्या उसका विरोध करने की बात है वो?
Yes. Like to add to his question, when you're talking about minimizing the division of votes, the opposition vote, and you're saying that it has to be state specific, but here the apparent position of the Tripura Congress is that it is anti-BJP. So if you are trying to consolidate all opposition votes, and if it is state specific, what will be your stand in Bengal?
The point is that BJP, the Tripura Congress's credibility in being an anti-BJP force is under a question mark. Has always been given the track record, and even in the recent past. We've seen that again, and so therefore the question is, it's not actually. That's why I say it's not politics is not arithmetic of adding numbers. Politics is politics in terms of who is your consistent ally. So therefore we'll